My name is Chau Nau. I am Chau Nau.
It feels so wonderful, man. There aren't words to describe the sensation of the material just exiting this body, man, being projected out. It's the closest thing is orgasm. It's the closest thing. And it outweighs that by 100 times.
If you saw this gentleman in public, what would you think? I approached Chau Nau in front of the Washington Monument as he was packing up his things. And as we sat down and got deeper into conversation, he said to me, "You have approached me, so my time is now yours." Over almost a 2-hour-long conversation, we touched on everything from the murder of his parents by members of the KKK, to his spiritual journey, and even to his thoughts on the political and racial divide in the United States. Whether you agree or disagree with his lifestyle and philosophy, I encourage you to not be so quick to judge a book by its cover. So I'm stepping up and inviting you to listen to understand. The lifestyle you live is called Chau Nau.
Chau Nau. Chau Nau is a fragment of God. Everything is a fragment of God. Chau Nau is a fragment of God. It's one of the most integral tools, for lack of a better term, that God uses to implement the evolutionary process of humanity in this dimension on this earth. So what Chau Nau does is the will of God.
You told me you've been all over the world?
Let me put it like this: every continent that's inhabited with civilization. How about that?
And what brought you to those continents?
What you see me doing is what I've been doing my entire life. And in the course of me doing that, the universe, God, the higher consciousness, directs me to different spots around the earth. People call them vortexes. To different places that I have to physically set my feet upon and physically draw the energy that's there and propel it towards the sun. I never know where I'm going. I never know when I'm going to go there. But whenever I get the message, whenever I get the feeling, I'm off.
I'm just talking a little bit about your upbringing here. Could you tell me a little bit about what that was like?
In the 60s, my first memories were seeing armored personnel vehicles rolling up and down Constitution and Pennsylvania Avenue, the National Guard troops on. That's one of my first memories. The city was on fire after the Martin Luther King assassination. My father and mother, my original father and mother, were actually assassinated by the Ku Klux Klan in Bamberg, North Carolina in 1967. So they moved me to live with my aunt and my uncle, which was basically a CIA household. So I came up in a CIA environment with very close watches on me, because my mother was a very powerful woman, and she was already on the radar as a person of interest because of her spiritual abilities, her extrasensory perception. So they put me in residence where they could keep close eye on me, and they kept close tabs on me for many years. But my upbringing was wonderful, man. I was in Boy Scouts and this, that. I traveled, that's what started me traveling all around. I started traveling with the Boy Scouts at the age of 10, 11, 12, 13. By the time I was 14, I started really realizing that there was something that I had to do. It was the reason I was always walking around going like this. People say, my actual name is Carl Jackson. That's my legal name. My spiritual name is Chau Nau. So people would see me going around, in class, anywhere, on the playground, in the Boy Scouts, any place I felt like I needed to get an extra burst of energy, or the Asians call it chi, the type of chi experience. I would just feel like I could just summons it up, and it would just rectify whatever the problem was or the situation was, and I would just instantly feel better. So by the time I was 14, I was starting to figure out it must be something to this, man. Why am I doing this?
No one taught you to do that?
No one taught me to do this. No one taught me to do this. I saw one person do this when I was a young person, and it was Muhammad Ali. I saw Muhammad Ali do this. I said, huh. And he would do it whenever he was training, whenever he was trying to psych himself up, whenever he was trying to intensify his mood. He would just go, ah. He had his assistant. His assistant name was Bodini. And they used to say their little rhymes, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Rumble, young man, rumble. Ah! And they would do that to each other. I said, huh. So that's very interesting. So now I start saying, okay, I've been doing this my whole life, and I've been seeing everybody else around me do it, but they really weren't doing it consciously. They really weren't aware that that's what they were doing. They thought they were laughing, they thought they were excited, they thought they were crying, they thought they were playing, they thought they were fighting, whatever they thought they were doing. They brought their sound out. They were making it, but they just didn't understand they were making it. I clearly saw that I was making it. So as I went deeper into that, I started to realize it's a method to this madness, man, that this is connecting me to the universe. It's connecting me to everything in this ecosystem. As I started listening to everything in this ecosystem, I started seeing that everything in this system is making that same sound. The wind, the rain, thunder, lightning, water crashing, waves flashing, rivers running, everything. Everything is making that rumble, that sound. So I went even deeper into it, okay? And I went all through school, finished my schooling, and I had a trust fund, I had a big trust fund, because when my parents were assassinated, they made it appear as though it was an accident. So I got a settlement from that. So I had a big trust fund, and when I was 17, the spirits just said, you have to leave Washington, D.C. You know, there was nobody here on my level. There was nobody here that I could talk to about this. There was nobody I could confide in. And I
you were
was
searching for a mentor.
Yeah, I was looking for some association, man, for some love. Everybody needs a little love. Everybody needs somebody to be with. So I went out to Hawaii, went to Maui, of all places. I had an uncle out there, and he brought me out there, and I lived out there for 5 years, and that's when I just blossomed, man. I blossomed. It all became clear who I was, what I had to do, where I had to go, the initial place that I had to go, which was the very center of the earth in Congo. It took me 17 years to get there, but I clearly had the vision that I had to go there. But I really blossomed in Maui, and there was some old guys there. There was a whole lot of spiritual people there, man, conscious people for 1977, 1978.
And so the lifestyle you live is called Chau Nau.
Chau Nau.
Okay. And I'll borrow the term that you said, in an elementary way, for someone like me who has never encountered this before, how would you best explain what you do, or what Chau Nau is?
Okay. Chau Nau is a fragment of God. The same as everything out here is a fragment of God. Every person, every piece of grass, this stick, all animate and inanimate objects. Everything is a fragment of God. Chau Nau is a fragment of God. And what he has me specifically doing is locking into, the scientific term for it is particle decay, locking to all the pieces of you, the pieces of every person out here, the pieces of everything that's decaying on this earth, locking into those particles and pushing them, projecting them up towards this sun, because that's the future, that's where they're headed. They're getting there through people like me who are actually pushing it up. The atmosphere, the jet stream circulates all of us all together, interconnects us all together, from everything that we exhale, from everything that we expel from our body, project from our body, the smallest pieces, the hydrogen. It's just all in the atmosphere, it's flowing everywhere. I pull it and I project it towards that sun. It's the simplest way to put it. In that process, that's transforming everything and everybody on this earth towards their destiny. in that process of particle decay. I don't like saying particle decay. In that process of transformation, in that process where pieces of you, pieces of me, pieces of everything are coming loose from this body, are detaching from this body, and are flying out to meet their destiny, to meet your future. Our future is not here on earth. Our future is in the universe. It's in the stars. That's the future. And that's not a story, that's a scientific fact. Because every piece of hydrogen that comes out of your body is a part of your consciousness, is going through this atmosphere, is breaking the gravitational pull of this earth, the only thing that can do that naturally, is entering into that sun. Once it gets into that sun, it's being propelled out to every star in the universe.
So when you talk about destiny in, I guess, a term that I would be familiar with, you're talking about like an afterlife, more or less?
Afterlife, that's the future, my man.
And is it?
The destiny in this life is already set. You're doing it right now. You're living it. All these people, they're living it. That's their destiny, everything that they're doing. Everything that they experience, everything that they go through, everything that they've learned, everything that they will learn, all earthly things. That is their earthly destiny. That's already done. It's established. Okay? The future, you understand, which no one wants to address. That's another reason why I'm standing out here by myself a lot of times. The future is beyond humanity. We were never meant to be human beings forever. 100 years, that's a blip in infinity. It's no time. So after that, what's next? No one wants to look at that. No one wants to address that. No one wants to seriously contemplate what death actually is. That is the future. That's what we were born to do. We were born to absorb every sensation that we can absorb here, everything that you see people doing, harness that, process it through these forms, project it out to the universe till the last breath comes out of us. And at that point, we will graduate, we will elevate to higher beings, to full conscious beings, closer to that of our Creator. And that's the Chau Nau lifestyle. It's nothing else that I do. This is all that I do. I go out and I do this. There's many things I have done and many skills and talents that I have, but this is my main course.
So you've mentioned God, or the universe, or higher being, creator, in Chau Nau, or the Chau Nau lifestyle. What or who is God, or the concept of God?
Let me put it in. I'm trying to put everything in the simplest terms. I have terms that I use, but for me to just blurt those terms out would be senseless to people listening. But in the simplest terms, the entire mass of magnetically charged atomic and subatomic particles, the entire mass, everything in this dimension, everything in this universe is tied together as one huge atomic and subatomic mass of what you would call particles. Scientists think that those particles are just inanimate objects. They're just remnants left over from a big bang. But what they are is a total, full, conscious, intelligent being. They call it the Holy Ghost. They call it a spirit. If you could stand back off this universe and look at it in its atomic form, you would see that it's just one gigantic atomic mass of subatomic particles. And you would see that those particles come together to create, to form, and to dematerialize and destroy anything that they want. They come together to make stars, they come together to make planets, they come together to make us. They come together to make everything, but they're all tied together in one huge atomic mass, and they're all controlled as one huge atomic being. So therefore, when you're talking about the atoms and the subatomic particles, you're not talking about inanimate objects. You're talking about intelligent, conscious entities that come together as one mass, that operate as one mass, and create and control everything in this dimension. that is God. That's what God is.
You talk about Chau Nau being a lifestyle, not
Yeah.
a religion.
Yeah.
So when you encounter people who are, I guess, religious, like for example, like I am Christian,
Okay.
or someone who is Jewish or
Okay.
Muslim, how does Chau Nau interrelate with, I guess, the more common world religions?
I relate to every person according to their understanding, according to the state of consciousness that they're in. I'm all inclusive. I'm not above anybody, I'm not below anybody, and no one is certainly above or below me. Religion is just another tool of the universe for people to get a true understanding of themselves, to get a elementary understanding of themselves. They have to start from someplace. So religion helps them to do that, okay? So they have many different religions because they have many different sensations and experiences that people have to have. And people fall into the religion that best suits their needs, their sensational needs that they have to have, their experiences that they have to have. So understanding that, Chau Nau is a culmination of all of that, all of it, everything, woven together as one form, one body, the true oneness that everyone is searching for, the oneness, you see? And the objective, the point of doing that is to eventually take people beyond religion and into just the oneness, because that's what they already are. They're just not aware that they're in part of this oneness. They think that they're different races, they're different whatever, what different religions, different colors, different whatever they think that they are. But to the soul, to the core of everything here, it is all the exact same thing. That huge mass of subatomic particles. That's the future. That's the oneness.
What is your understanding of sin or immorality?
Every concept that we experience on this earth, every concept, sin, just every concept that we experience on this earth is only intended solely to give us a better understanding of what a self is, of a self-experience. You see? To understand the self, you have to understand what life is. To understand what life is, you have to understand the different sensations of life. Good, bad, right, wrong, pretty, ugly, smart, dumb. You have to understand all these things. Sin is just one of them things that you have to understand. Coming from a self perspective, they help you to learn about life and about what could happen in life, the things that do happen in life. They let you know what evil is. They let you know what wrong is. They know what destructive is, detrimental. They let you know all the negative things. And you want to, they categorize it as sin. You see? But once you reach a different level of consciousness, you clearly understand that all those things don't truly exist. They certainly don't exist in the universe. They only exist on this earth as part of a program that God has given us to experience ourselves and learn more about ourselves.
So is it fair to say that in your consciousness or in your understanding of the world, the concept of good and evil is at this point irrelevant?
Totally irrelevant. Starting out, oh my goodness, that was my main focus. Good and evil. I was the champion of good and the destroyer of everything evil. That's what I figured I was doing with this motion. But after 50 years of fighting that battle against evil and against injustice and all these things, the universe shifted me from a self perspective to a full conscious universal perspective.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you a personal question.
Yes, man. I got no secrets, man.
Okay.
None at all. Zero.
You mentioned at the beginning that your parents were murdered by members of the Ku Klux Klan.
Yeah.
You wouldn't define that as evil?
When I was little, of course I did. As a young person, yes, of course. This is the consciousness that I had. That's what I was here to learn. What evil is, what sin is, what ugliness is. How else could I learn it other than through experiencing it personally? And as I experienced it, yes, I said that's a terrible thing. But I never really felt that bad about it. I couldn't understand why I didn't feel that bad about it until I got older. And as I said, when I turned 50 years old, then it got a clear understanding that, no, man, you know, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong under the sun, because God, the universe, has everything slated to happen under his control. There's no force above him. There's nothing that can alter him. There's nothing that can sway him any kind of way. There's nothing that can oppose him. There's nothing that can fight him. There's nothing that he did not create. There's nothing that he does not control. So how on earth could anything be wrong? He explained how on earth nothing is wrong. And he let me know that through the course of telling me all these negative things that we see happening out here are by design. They're by design to give you that experience, to give you that sensation of pure evil, man. You say, why on earth would God want you to know about pure evil? I'm sure that's what you're thinking now. Okay. God is turning us into beings, man, that are close to his consciousness, close to his power and his autonomy. Okay? He's turning us into full conscious beings. How on earth could we become full conscious beings, beings with the intelligence and the knowledge of everything, without knowing about evil or experiencing evil? How could we do that? We would only be one-sided, man. We would just be half of a conscious being, just everything good, everything beautiful, everything intelligent. We know all that. But everything on the other side, we have no knowledge of that. How could we call ourselves a full conscious being? We couldn't. So what God does, he gives us the full spectrum, man. It's a tough love program, but it works to perfection.
If you were, hypothetically, if you were to step into a space where the murderers of your parents were standing right in front of you, how would you interact with them?
Now or then?
Now.
Now, I would view the entire scene as God on God giving me the experience of watching a total transformation in process. I would view the bodies and the blood and the guts and all this on the ground as just water, man. Because that's what they are. I mean, we're 98% water, aren't we?
I don't mean the scene of the crime. I mean, like, if the
how
people...
I would feel. Oh no! If I saw the people who did it,
yes.
What would I think of them?
Mm-hmm.
Every soul on this earth, my friend, is a fragment of God. Every soul, man. We are all God's children. We are all God's creations. We are all part of God. That's how I would view them. I would have no animosity towards them, no hatred, no nothing. I got nothing but love for everybody, man, because I'm doing God's work. And God has nothing but love for everybody. You think it's somebody out here that God hates? You think it's somebody out here that God doesn't like? All right, I'm doing God's work. You understand? So everything that God is feeling, he's making me feel that. He's projecting that through me, man. I would look at them as fragments of God. I would clearly understand what they're doing better than they understand what they're doing. I clearly would know exactly why they're doing it, even when in their mind, they really don't understand why they're doing it. You see? And it wouldn't bother me at all. Not even a little bit.
Would you be able to forgive them?
How could I forgive them if I'm not even mad at them? There's nothing to forgive. If I love you and I'm not even mad at you and I'm viewing you as a part of God, what is there to forgive?
So there's no animosity?
No, man. There's nothing. I'm not even upset about it. In order to forgive somebody, you have to have some sort of malice towards them, man. You got to have some hatred or some revenge in your mind or something. No, I don't have anything like that, man. I had it like that for many years.
Like I said, as my conscience developed and expanded, now it let me see that that's not the true state of the universe. In the universe, there is no evil. You understand? There is no murder. There is no war. There is no genocide. None of those things exist there. Those are just tools and scenarios that God has orchestrated on earth as part of our self-development.
Sure.
It's part of our development leading towards higher beings. So we have to experience those things. It's very tough. It's a very tough program.
Yeah. So you mentioned like there's no such thing as murder or genocide, any of that. What do you say then to like someone who has experienced a death in the family due to murder, due to genocide, and who says to you a statement like what you just made is insensitive? Like, how do you respond to that?
Okay. The only thing that I can do is exactly what God does. Is God not controlling everything, above everything, directly involved in everything? Is he not? So for God to see that and not say, what you're saying, God is insensitive. No, he's not insensitive. I'm not insensitive. I'm conscious. I'm fully conscious and aware. You see, I would like to empathize with them, you understand? But to do that, I have to dummy down. I have to come down from the truth of the universal existence back to the earthly dimension and the self-existence. And I'm far removed from that place. You see? And it would be doing I would be doing them a disservice by trying to cuddle them and soothe them and comfort them, when the truth is nothing wrong has happened. When the truth is a miracle has actually happened. Their loved one, okay? To them it appeared as a horrible thing, but to the person experiencing the death, he has elevated in one act, man. No pain in that act. There's no pain on the other side of death. You understand? He's elevated to a place where he's closer to his eternal form, where he's beginning to experience his eternal form. And he's now floating. Any person that you know that's been through a near-death experience or died and come back to life explains it the same way. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. So for me to try to act like it's not wonderful, I would be doing a disservice to the person. I would tell them to look at what all their religious preachers and teachers say at funerals. They say, this is not a time to be sad. They say, this is a time for celebration. This is a graduation. This is what they say. But they have no understanding of what they're saying. They have no real conscious understanding of what they're saying. Because if they really understood that, then that's the way they would view death. It's not as some horrible, tragic thing, no matter how it went down. They would view it as what it actually is. It's an ascension, man. It's a graduation. It's part of the evolution process that every single person on this earth is going to go through. There's not one person on this earth that's not going to go through that process. I don't care how it's done. If you get your head chopped off or if you lay in the bed and just die peacefully, the same thing is happening. The same thing is occurring. You're evolving to another form and another stage. All of it directly under the control and power of God, of the universe. There's no man acting autonomously out here. Every man is acting under the influence and the direct control of God. So, I mean, I wouldn't want to sound insensitive, but I have to tell the truth. The truth sometimes people aren't ready for it. That's why I'm standing here alone a lot of the time. Because the truth is a hard thing to understand.
Yeah.
But there's nothing that can be disputed in what I said, unless you don't believe that there's an omnipotent force, a total universal consciousness, a God. If you don't believe in that, yeah, then everything I said is just nonsense. But if you believe that there is an intelligence, a universal intelligence, and it is all powerful, and he does control everything and everybody, then you have to understand that means everything and everybody. It does not exclude anything. You can't pick and choose what you want to say God is controlling.
Yeah.
You can't say
all negative things, he's not controlling that. No. If he is the God, which he is controlling everything and everybody, including murder. Everything, I'm sorry. It's a very, very complex thing, but it's simple. It's simple, but it's complex in the sheer amount of variables that God controls, man. Everything, that's a hell of a word. You understand? That's a word that nobody out here can comprehend. They can't comprehend the word everything because they can only comprehend the things that they have learned, defined in the terms of the staff or a glove, a body. That's you know. So in order to understand everything, you have to get beyond all of these titles and names that have been presented to you and get down to the core of everything. And that's the subatomic particles, man. And they encompass everything. And they're doing it with an intelligence because they are the intelligence. They are the God.
Like you said, growing up between 7 and 17 years old, you were exposed to or raised in a Christian tradition?
Metropolitan Baptist Church on 13th and R Street, Northwest.
What was that experience like? How did that shape you?
Well, I loved that experience. I said that's why I joined the Boy Scouts. That's why I was in the choir. That's when I was on the usher board. I was actually the captain of the usher board. That's where I first got my first conveyed messages of God coming from another human being, from the preacher. That was the first time I ever heard anybody talk about God. Okay? And what I heard intrigued me. When I read the Bible, went to Bible study, Bible class, all there was things in there that I really liked, that really resonated with me. And then there were things in there that didn't make any sense to me. And then when I used to ask questions about things and whatever, the preachers and the deacons, they couldn't answer. So it got to a point where I was like, okay, I've gone as far as I can go here.
What's an example of something that didn't make sense to you?
Say it's a time to kill. It makes perfect sense now. But when I was 10 years old, 11 years old, 12 years old, that didn't make any sense.
From the book of Ecclesiastes.
Yeah. It's a time for war. Slaves, obey your master. You understand? Things like that. I was like, what is that? Why is God telling people to be slaves and obey their masters? So it was just things like that, things that you talk about God created the earth and on this day he did this and he did. I said, well, how was he doing this, man? All the pictures that they showed of God, he was in a chair, sitting in a chair somewhere. And he was somehow able to magically create, it just didn't make any sense. I mean, I wanted an explanation for how that was happening, how he was able to do all these things, and they couldn't give me any explanations. Well, he's God, that's what he does, and just be quiet and let me finish with the lesson. So, you know, by the time I started getting to be a teenager, you can't talk to me like that. If you can't answer my question, then I have to look elsewhere. You're supposed to be a teacher. You're supposed to be someone that's trying to explain something to me, make me believe something. And I ask a question, you can't adequately or effectively answer that question. It's time for me to look elsewhere.
Yeah.
So I had to leave out the church, man. I had to leave.
In talking about like the lifestyle, the chaunau lifestyle, what are common practices that we would see amongst a community or other people who practice what you practice?
What you see. Just what you see. It's one thing that I do, man. One thing. You understand? The core, the base of everything that I do. I'm feeling everything right now. I'm feeling the siren. I'm hearing the drum. I'm feeling the plane. I'm hearing all these people talk. I'm feeling all these cars. I'm hearing the wheels hit the road. I'm feeling everything. And I'm pulling it through me, man. I'm focusing on it, and I'm focusing on pushing it out. And I could actually feel it coming out of my body, leaving out. That's all that I do. There's nothing else that I do. I experience everything under this sun, as does everybody here. I experience everything, man. It's a human experience. This is another thing that gets people. They say you're not really, we want to see something supernatural. We want to hear a big voice come out the sky and say, oh, people. We want to see the deceased partner. It's not like that. That's something that was created in the movies. You understand? The reality is that the universal experience arises from the human experience. Everything that we experience down here goes on to shape the universe, man, in the form of particle decay being projected from our body as hydrogen, going out through that sun, getting pushed out. So everything that you see people do is what I do, man. I have a house. I live in there. I have a family. I have 8 children. I raise my children. I send my children to college. I got police for children. I got architects for children. I got teachers for children, man. I got musicians. I got athletes for children. Okay? I build houses. I'm an architect. Anything that can be done in the human experience, I do it. Whatever the universe dictates for me to do, that's what I do. That is the lifestyle of Chau Nau. That's the lifestyle of everybody. They just don't understand that. You wake up in the morning, whatever you feel like doing, whatever you're compelled to do, whatever you have to do, whatever you want to do, you just go and do it. That is the lifestyle of Chau Nau, man. Focusing on that. Understanding that it's a consciousness behind that, and it's a reason for that goes beyond societal norms. You understand? That goes beyond business and material possessions. That goes beyond the economics structure and different. It's beyond all of that. All those things exist for a very specific reason, and they all are to get you to the universe, man. You have to go through the human experience. And that's what Chau Nau is. It's focusing on the human experience. It's focusing on what every experience and scenario makes you feel. That's the experience. A lot of people just going through the motion. They're not really focusing on what they're feeling. A lot of people can't feel what they're feeling. A lot of people can feel what they're feeling, but they're not focusing on that. The Chau Nau experience is to let you understand that the human experience is the most important thing that you can do on this planet, that you're doing. And you have to examine everything: fear, love, hatred, good, evil. All those make you feel a certain way. And once you reach a full conscious understanding, you will you will focus on those feelings. And know that each one is important and each one is unique and it has its unique characteristics. And those characteristics are things that you're going to use beyond humanity. Most people can't use those characteristics here because they're just viewing them from a purely earthly point of view. Let's take, for example, fear. Everybody's felt fear and they don't want to feel fear. You understand? They think it's a negative thing and they just push it out of their mind. They don't even want to deal with it or understand it at all. The Chau Nau experience wants you to understand everything. Everything. The core of the sensation. All right? When you feel something, someone scares you, you jump. You see something coming that's making you scared, you start trembling and you start tightening up and you get a heightened awareness and you're ready to run, you're ready to jump, you're ready to... Those are positive attributes used in a positive setting. In a negative setting where you're scared of the thing, okay, you look at those as detriments. But just take away the thing that you're scared of and just leave the sensation there of me being in this heightened state where I'm ready to move in any kind of way. And I'm in like a superhuman form now. You understand? I could just jump and move in any type of direction that I want to. You understand? I'm in the heightened state. I'm super sensitive to everything that's around me. Imagine using that in a positive instance for constructive and creative things. That is an example of understanding the sensation in its purest form. Okay? Everybody understands it, just, oh, and they understand it like that. But they don't understand it. They could use those same characteristics, man, in a positive manner, man. And that actually empowers them to be more than what they are. Because normally you're just walking around, you're not aware of anything. But now that you have this fear sensation, you're aware of everything. but you're not caught. I don't call it fear anymore. No matter, you know, I have to say fear because people understand the term fear. But I examine everything in its purest form. And that's part of the Chau Nau lifestyle, to get people to understand that all of these sensations, all of these experiences that you're going through as a human being are attached to sensations. That is all there is to the human experience, the sensation. The consciousness that God gives you is going to determine how you experience the sensation. And most people on an elementary conscious level, the fear, the this, the that, they experience it the way everybody experiences earth things. But in the Chau Nau experience, you elevate from experiencing things on this earthly plane to a purely factual, physically tangible sensation that you can identify and see and calculate and define everything that it's doing. And I do that with every sensation. I've done it with every sensation. I've cataloged every sensation. Not every sensation, but the majority of the human sensations.
You mentioned you have 8 children?
Yeah.
Do they all practice a similar lifestyle as you?
0.
0 of them.
Just one, my youngest son. And he's just doing it because he's my youngest son, and he's been with me for the longest of everybody. He's been with me for 19 years, day for day. So he just felt like it's something that he wanted to do. I don't try to impose my will on anybody. I don't try to impose my beliefs on anybody. If I'm in a room or on an airplane or in a seminar or on the White House or anywhere I'm at, I will be the quietest person there. I'm not saying anything, because in order for it to be real to somebody, they have to feel it themselves. God has to make them feel it themselves. So if he's not making them feel it, then I certainly can't try to intervene in what he is making them feel. So in the case of my children, nah, they saw me doing this, they saw me doing it their whole lives. But that's something that they felt like, no, he wanted to be a policeman. All right, be a policeman. You want to be an architect, be an architect. You want to be a musician, you want to be a musician. Whatever you want to do. You want to be a teacher, be a teacher. That's solely between you and the universe. But the youngest one, he actually went out to California with me, and he was on some of them beaches with me.
Okay.
You understand?
Yeah. I'm looking at what you're wearing. I'm looking at your hairstyle. I'm looking at, you know, the stick or the staff and your sandals, and even the mat, or if that's a correct term, the mat that you have on the ground. Is that all part of the Chau Nau lifestyle, or is this more of like a personal choice for you specifically?
These are all functional tools, man. The Chau Nau lifestyle deals with complete, effective functionality. Everything has a purpose. You understand? Everything is producing a sensation. Everything has a goal and a duty to perform. And everything that you see here is performing a duty.
Tell me about, maybe let's do specifically
the robe.
Yeah, the robe.
This robe here comes from Africa, okay? And whenever I do my prayer, I want to start out with this robe. Say, why? If I start out with my uniform, this is my uniform right here. The uniform that God made for me, my body. If I start out with that, people would have no idea. They wouldn't even have any point of reference to begin to understand what I'm doing. But when they see this, so they can say, oh, this guy, he's a priest, he's a this, he's some kind of religion, some kind of something, some sort of royal, something. It's a robe, okay? That's what it's used for. And that's what gives them a bearing point for anyone that has a little bit of consciousness. They can look at this and say, okay, this is something that he's wearing for a reason.
What about the necklace?
The necklace, this came from South Africa, and a lady gave it to me. And anything that anybody gives me,
I have to keep it as close to me as I can. You know what I'm saying? I have to keep it. So that's why I wear this.
And I'm just gonna ask
Yeah, yeah.
about two more things. You have two sticks here.
This one came from Congo. That's the first place I had to go on my quest.
When you were a young adult.
Yeah, I got that. So I heard about it when I was 17, but I didn't get there till I was 34. When I got there, it was a tree growing. It was temples there in the middle of the jungle, man. Ancient temples. No one can go there. No one can breach the entrance. You understand? It's surrounded by all forms of deterrence and atrocious behavior and just horrible things. It's in Congo, in the center of the jungle, in the DRC.
Yeah.
So right in front of the temple was a tree there, and I have a bad ankle, and I got a bad knee. It came from when I was in the action. I was, by the way, I was present when they killed my mother and my father. I was there. They killed my mother, my father, my 13-year-old sister, my 10-year-old sister, and my 6-month-old sister. They killed 5 members of my family. I was there. They thought they killed me too. I had my head fractured, busted all over, my ribs all messed up, both legs broken, and my ankle was shattered. So, getting back to the stick, when I went in Congo, I had to walk like 200 miles to get into this place in the jungle, man. My ankle was completely torn out. So I got this stick, and it actually has carried me for the past 30-something years. It's a functioning tool that carries me, that I actually lean on. That's the primary function of it. But now the secondary function is while I'm leaning, it's also absorbing sensations coming up from the ground. And the stick, the harder I touch it and clutch it, the more it starts reverberating them sensations, and now I use it as like an antenna. Okay? Like an antenna, and it directs itself, man. It moves by itself, it goes where it wants to go, it does what it wants to do, and it aids in the prayer.
Yeah.
This one, I acquired this one recently in like the last 2 years, because this one started getting very heavy for me. I'm an old man. I'm not trying to do hard work now. So this one just appeared in my house, man. I don't even know where it came from, how it got there. I just looked up and here it was, and I've been holding it, and it's easier for me to walk with. Very functional.
What is this, bamboo?
This is bamboo. The hair came from my head, man.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And it fell out of my head. Anything that's coming off my body is closer to the transformation process. That's why it's coming apart. Anything that I can capture and retain with that energy, then I capture it and I retain it.
Your choice to have dreads.
The dreads, that's just a very functional, effective part of the human experience. Everything that God gives you, He's giving it to you for a reason, man. He didn't give me my hair to cut off my head. He gives it to me so that I can experience the growth of an external mystical form, man. Functionally, it's like another antenna. It's a different type of antenna. These antennas, that monument is antenna, antenna's antenna. This is antenna. They grow straight up in the air. What does hair do? It picks up all particles and things in it. It's a cleanser, it's a purifier. It's also, it protects my head from sun. It also keeps my head warm and cold. It also protects me from impacts. So it's a very functional tool.
How long have you been growing your hair?
Since I was 27. That's when the last haircut I had. Never touched it again. And at one point, it was all the way down here. But I'm trying to tell you, I'm an old man. And the older you get, you lose everything. I'm gonna lose every muscle in my body. I'm gonna lose my fingernails. I'm gonna lose my teeth. I'm gonna lose my hair. I'm gonna lose my sight. I'm gonna lose my hearing. And eventually, I'm going to lose this entire form. That's the most magical thing that can happen, man. It's going to disappear. Totally. That's not a story. That's science. Everything you're looking at is going to disappear into subatomic and atomic particles and float about off this earth.
In the context of the chaunau lifestyle, like, how do you view the political division here in the U.S.?
See, it's hard for me to separate the universe from anything, number one. I cannot separate God from anything, because God is a part of everything. So for me to try to separate him from that, that's an impossibility. So when I view the political situation, I view it the way I view everything else on this earth, man. This is one of the toughest demonstrations and lessons and experiences that God is giving us for our development, okay? All the different political views, all the different political fighting, all the division, all the separation, all the conspiracy theories, all those things, man. People see those as things that are done by people. People see those as situations that are created by government entities and the CIA and Illumina, whoever they think that created all this stuff. You understand? But the reality is, all of these situations are created and controlled by God. So when I see all this stuff going on in society, man, I can identify everything that's happening and why it's happening. I see exactly why God is doing it. Because I see the sensation that's being produced. We talked about those sensations in their purest form. I see the sensations that's produced from every conspiracy theorist. I see the sensations that are produced from every social and political upheaval. You understand? I see the direction that is changing the consciousness of people towards. You understand? And I clearly understand that that's a pattern, that it's a system, and it's not controlled by any one person, man. It's controlled by the universe, and it filters down from the universe to all of the people who implement these programs, man. From the President of the United States, to the President of the Soviet Union, to this secret organization, to that secret organization, to the FBI, to the CIA, to everybody. They are all under control. All under the control of God. So the things that I see them doing, the injustices, the justices, the rights, the wrongs, the intelligent, the stupidness, the ridiculous, the unfair, the inequality, I understand that's all part of a universal system of development. You see? And I see clearly that it's leading to a place. This is really going to sound crazy to people. That it's leading to a place that is going to be purely positive. That's one of the truest things that Donald Trump said. He said, it may look really bad now and in this, that, he said, but when this is all over, everybody is going to be in a much better state and everyone is going to be happy with the results. And I clearly see that coming to pass. You see, from a big universal perspective and from an earthly social position. You see, I clearly see things getting better. You see, to all of the things that people determine and define as being negatively charged and sinful and everything, I see things getting better. I see the air quality getting better. I see the congestion getting better, lessening. I see the pollution levels dropping. I see people having more space and having more good, loving feelings. I see people behaving nicer. You understand? I used to live in LA for 5 years. The freeways was like parking lots, man.
Right.
I went out there, I was traveling 100 miles an hour, man, all day long. Anywhere I wanted to go, 90, 75, 80, it didn't matter. You see? People are becoming, it's more room, it's more space. Okay? People are bonding more with their families. All right? they're getting pushed closer together as units. Okay? So I'm seeing a lot of positive things. So yeah, people losing their job, people this, people dying, people sick, blah, blah, blah. Hey man, that's part of the process. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Everyone's going to die. You understand? Everyone has to experience some sort of hardship in their life. That's part of the completing that circle we was talking about, man. You can't just know everything good. You have to know everything. And the only way that you're going to know everything is not from reading it in a book or someone talking to you about it. The truest way to learn anything is through experience. That's the only way you're going to learn a thing. So I'm sorry, the hardship and the things that you don't like, you have to experience those to get a true and adequate understanding of those things, man. From an earthly standpoint, if you would go crazy trying to make sense of this. It make you just because it's from a logical, just societal position, it makes no sense. But from a universal understanding where you do not separate God from anything, it makes perfect sense. From a purely sensational acquisition level where you're just acquiring sensations and feeling them and examining them and defining them the way they just make you feel, it makes all the sense in the world.
When you look at the race relations in America throughout your lifetime, you've seen everything from...
Yeah, man.
I mean, you just mentioned when you were a kid, your first memory,
yeah, man.
like the riots in D.C. following MLK's assassination to, your like encounters with the Ku Klux Klan as a child, and seeing the racial division even now here for Americans now. Like, what are your thoughts, or even like what is advice that you would
At
give?
a certain point, it's going to be an event that takes place that draws all of these people together with an understanding that there's a higher force controlling everything. And when that event takes place, people are going to cease identifying themselves by race. They're going to stop. They're not going to do it. And it's not going to be anything that any person implements or orchestrates or initiates. It's going to be something that's coming from this universe, man. It's going to be something that's coming from within you. It's going to make you understand that. Your consciousness is going to raise. That's part of the work that Chau Nau is doing. Raising this consciousness, man, to the point where you understand that, hey, man, we are all the same thing.
When you say event, are you talking about like a natural
physical,
disaster?
Whatever. A physical event. It's already started. The process has already started. It started when the entire world was stopped. That was the beginning of this process, of this event. When the entire world stood still, everybody was in their house, no cars on the street, all stores closed. You understand? That was the beginning of the event. And since that time, people have had a chance to examine the reality of race relation and the reality of what they even term as their race. They're beginning to look deeper into that, man. That's just the tip on the iceberg. But they're going to be a series of events, natural and unnatural, man-made and universally descended down, thrown down on this earth. It's going to make it 100% clear that there is a higher force controlling all of this from within. And once everyone feels that from within, how could they possibly divide themselves up into any type of category? That will be the true oneness that they've always been speaking about, man. It's coming.
Do you have an inkling of what exactly that event will be?
I've had two visions of it. I got it in the book, okay? And the best way I can put this is those events are classified. They're classified, man. That's secret information. Why is it classified? It's classified because the only people who are supposed to have privilege to that information are people who are involved in the process of implementing these situations and atmospheres. Those people are going to know, like I know. But for everybody else, it's classified.
What is your hope for humanity?
It's not a hope, it's a reality, man. It's the destiny. It's the future, man. It's a certainty. It's not a hope. It is a certainty that every single person that you see on this planet is going to evolve to a full conscious state far beyond humanity. That is a mathematical, physical certainty. It's not a hope. That is the future. There is no other future. There's nothing else that can happen here, man. You understand? There's nothing else that can happen. You're not going to just poof off into oblivion and just turn into nothingness or end up in some hellish fiery place of brimstone and or just, that's not going to happen. There's no such thing. There's only one future. And that future is the evolution of humanity. We're going to evolve. We're evolving as we speak. The consciousness is going to grow. It's going to get higher, higher, higher. And once it reaches the saturation point where everyone is of the proper consciousness to go beyond humanity, all this is going to just change, man. It's going to evolve. That's not the hope, that is the reality. You understand? Visually, the best way to explain it is a supernova, man. All of this is going to just change. It's going to go supernova. It's going to change. Everything on this earth is going to be no more. It's not even going to be air left. The consciousnesses are going to expand and project off this earth in light speed, man. At light speed. That's a mathematical certainty. That's not a story. That's physical, scientific fact. That is the future. The only thing that people don't understand about that is they just view that as some sort of universal Big Bang equation of inanimate objects flying away. But it's not that at all, man. It's a conscious evolution, step in the evolution of humanity. The consciousness will expand, it will rise, we will become full conscious beings. That's not a hope, that's a reality.